They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Geek Demon Online. It's been a while, but we are back and it is now November. November bringing in turkey season, bringing in Christmas season. But before we do that, we gotta linger on because I love Halloween and we missed Halloween. We had issues on Halloween. This Halloween, I was supposed to have a guest on, a guy who I have like a strong connection with via weirdness beyond my control, but we have a strong connection, and he has been in some of the greatest films that like define my childhood. They are literally my childhood, or at least could have been. And I'll leave it at that because I am going to introduce him because he actually has been nice enough to come back to the show. This is our third try on this. So for the third time, even though it's the first time for you guys watching, for the third time, give it up for a really awesome guy named Kevin VanHentenryk. Hello, sir.
Excellent. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you once again for coming back to the show.
My pleasure.
For those who don't know, he was supposed to be on, this gentleman right here was supposed to be on, and then I had a technical issue on my side. So then we rescheduled. I'm like, okay, we could do this. And then he had an emergency that he had to get to. So we were like, okay, this ain't happening. This is something above or below. No. But something somewhere saying no, not happening. But sure enough, you have been gracious enough to say, hey, let's give it one more shot. And here you are. So again, thank you so much, Mr.
My pleasure. I'm glad we could pull that off.
And call it. I say Mr. I'm going to just call you Mr. because VanHentenryk is a mouthful.
How about just Kevin?
Okay, Kevin sounds right. I mean, hey, Kevin, like we're like went to school with each other. Hey, Kevin from down the street, how you doing?
Yeah.
Speaking of names, I was scrolling through your IMDb. Was there a movie where you were listed as Kevin VanHentenryk? I saw like on IMDb. I forget the name of the movie. It was I want to say it was a short you might have done. I'll have to look it up, but it said it's like credited as Kevin VanHentenryk. I was like, what?
The pranksters have access to these machines.
True. I mean, anybody can go in and like Ricky go in there and edit their own stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're not a hat trick. You're the legit thing, so it's all good.
Well, thank you.
I want to talk to you about 3 movies in particular, but before I go into that, your career started in the 70s with a film called Slash of the Knife. Did I get that right?
Yep.
And it's still going on. I mean, you've got up to what, 2020? You did something as a wolfman in a film or a werewolf in a film?
No.
I could have sworn. No, see, then again, IMDb. You can't trust IMDb.
Yeah. I did something called The Catskill Chainsaw Redemption, which was a short horror comedy, but that's got to be 10 years ago. I did
see that.
Dry Bones for Gregory Lambertson. But yeah, no.
Well, Mr. Hat Trick, you did not do a werewolf film in 2020.
No.
But you did do, like I said before to these people, 3 films that defined my childhood. and I'm going to introduce the first one in the series. Excuse me, guys, if I burp, which I got one building up. I got to hold it in. I drinking soda because I have this cough that won't go away. I know soda probably isn't the best, but the first movie I'm bringing up, it is a classic. I remember as a child, my dad and we didn't really bond that much. We bond over horror movies. Like, he was an older gentleman when he had me, so, and he was already, like, I remember all my life he was retired. He was already retired. That's how. But my mom on Saturday nights would go play bingo, leaving me and my dad to either watch USA Up All Night with Rhonda Shear or Gilbert Gottfried, or we would go to the local supermarket because they had a room dedicated to just VHS rentals, and we'd go in and rent movies. And I swear, at least once a month, this bad boy was on my TV. I don't know how, why, but I swear to God, this was a staple in my house. And I grew to love it. Like, as a child, that first time you watch it, you're like, but then you start getting the appreciation. You're like, oh, this is a good part. And everything about this screams horror. Like, if you're a horror fan, this is it. And
wow, thank you.
This is the first in a trilogy, mind you. So I want to talk about this one because this one started it all. Before this was, like I said, Slash of the Knife, I think, and then this. So this was like your first big movie?
Well, Slash of the Knife was a Frank Henenlotter film prior to Basket Case.
Mm-hmm.
I was attending the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City, and Ilsa, who plays the social worker with the glasses,
Okay, yeah.
Worked at the Academy. She was the assistant registrar. Ruth Newman, who plays our aunt in Basket Case, was the registrar. And so Ilsa said to me one day, "I know this guy that makes movies. You should meet him." So I said, "Okay." So we went and had lunch, I think, with Frank. He was interested. So I did 3 extra parts, background parts in Slash of the Knife. And I was always on his case to use student actors because we need the experience. We can use the footage, blah, blah, blah.
And a foot in.
Yeah, and I don't know, 6 or 8 months later, he calls me up with this idea for Basket Case, and he runs through it on the phone on the spot and says, "Am I interested?" Of course, it was too good to pass up, and that was that.
And yeah, that is that, because this movie, to give a quick rundown for those who are watching, this movie is, the story behind it is, you have a twin brother.
Born Siamese twins.
Right here.
Joined twins, yeah.
What's his name again?
It's Dwayne. I play Dwayne, and that's Belial.
Belial.
Belial looks like a squashed octopus where he's attached to my right side. At the age of, our mother dies in childbirth. At the age of 12, we are cut apart by our evil father and a trio of questionable doctors.
Very questionable. And that leads into a very big debate, which, if you guys watch this, you'll understand why I'm debating this. Who is the bad guy? Because at first, when you first watch it, you're like, oh, Belial's a bad guy. Belial's a monster. But if you get past the fact that he's this squished octopus-looking monster, it's almost a revenge story, let alone, like, it's a horror, but it's also like a revenge. Because you guys were separated, but not by choice. You guys were separated against your wills. I remember the scene, you guys are like sitting there and you're like screaming and hollering and fighting, and they're like giving you guys like medication to knock you out and stuff, and they didn't even take care of Belial. Like, they threw him in a garbage bag. like in a garbage bag, and then so it's like, yeah, it's he survives, and he's like, I'm gonna get these MFers that did this to us. So yeah, I love the fact that it's not necessarily a clear cut horror, as it is, like I said, a redemption. What did I say? A revenge. And another thing that I wanted to talk about in this film is Belial himself. How was it acting? Because you guys didn't have green screens back then.
No.
So you had to literally either act facing this squish, as you said, squish octopus, or you had to pretend the squish octopus was there. How did that go? Because you had to hold on a conversation.
Yeah, well, in a situation like this, you have to supply the other side of the dialogue, which then runs through your head silently as you're doing the part. In a scene where I'm working with another actor, they're not really that part any more than I'm really Dwayne. So there's already a measure of suspension of disbelief. Yeah, but I wrote out all the dialogue, both sides of, in other words, Belial's side of the dialogue, and you try to flesh that out as much as possible.
Yeah, because I'm not an actor. I can't tell you like how I would feel, but I can only imagine it would be kind of weird, like just kind of like me looking at my microphone and being like, "No, I can't do that. Yes, yes. Maybe no, yes, no." Like I'm having a conversation with just an inanimate object. It'd be kind of. I mean, it's talent. I'll give it to you. It's talent, because you got to have that conversation with nothing.
Yep.
Now, as I was saying, also with this movie, you had some great actor co-workers. I guess what are they? Supporting cast. I don't know what the actual term is, but you had some great supporting cast, including I know I'm not going to get his name right, but there was the old gentleman. I fell in love with him when Bradley, or yeah, Dwayne, not Bradley, but Dwayne shows up at the Hotel Broslin. There's this old gentleman sitting there, and when you come in, he's all alone in this cold, cruel world. And I thought he was like, just that one line. If there's any memorable lines, for some reason that line just sticks with me.
Yeah.
Like
Frank is real good with characters, and also the hotel manager Bob Vogel was really great too.
Oh yeah, him and his like, I'm running a zoo. I love his like he was so angry, but it was New York. It worked. It worked. And then of course you had the beautiful Beverly Bonner, who was she a love interest at one point? Was she becoming a love interest in the movie?
Oh, they were developing a friendship when Bilal got involved, but we lost Beverly, and we all miss her.
Yes, and she was a gem. Like I said, one of our interviews that we had, I said that I got to not talk, but I got to see her laugh track, and I thought it was amazing. Like it was on like YouTube or something, and I was watching it, and it's just gone too soon, but it is. We also had another person that was your supporting cast. I guess you'd want to call it, that was your love interest.
Terry Susan Smith.
Terry Susan Smith. I thought it was amazing, the fact that she was a punk rock star, like she was in a punk band or something when you guys discovered her.
Yeah.
And was she bald? Is that true? Like she was actually bald?
Yes, it is. It's a wig. She was in a band. She had shaved her head, and the whole time this doesn't look like a wig, does it? And no, it's great.
No, it looked good. It looked good. I didn't know she was bald until like I was looking up facts and stuff, and I was like, she was bald?
There's also a scene where we come back from the Statue of Liberty, she had broken her foot,
Ooh.
and I forget how, but when I come running into the lobby, Belial has created a scene upstairs. I come running in, and she follows you. If you watch closely, she hops in because she had a broken foot.
She hops in. I'm gonna have to watch now just to see her like. There's been a few things to catch, like a key scenes and stuff. You were telling me before, what was, if you can refresh me and the audience now watching about the cop? I mean, the guy who played the detective. Is it true that the levels in your room were different?
Oh yeah, there's an awkward moment when we enter the room because he was shorter than I was, and Frank wanted him to be taller. So he's walking on a platform with half apple boxes. So as we come through the door, there's kind of a little moment where because the door had to be closed, so he has to step across. So yeah,
it's funny, but I mean, it worked. It worked. Movie magic, like you said, just movie magic. Speaking of movie magic, also Belial. Who was Belial? Because there's been scenes where he's like stop motion, but then there's the scenes where you actually see his hands do stuff. Who was Belial? Who was the actor behind?
well, the gloves were very small, and the only person that could fit into them was Frank. So whenever you see the hands working with the file folders, that's Frank's hands in those gloves. Both of us did some of the vocalization for Belial. There's one scene I remember in the hotel room. Belial is in the basket and he comes out. I think one of those scenes, the way we did that was Frank was in the bureau and one of the drawers was open a little bit. So he was kind of peeking through and looking at a mirror across the room so he could work Belial that way. So yeah, it's a combination of a lot of things.
So he was like literally peeking through like one of the drawers to like.
Yeah. And
so I mean, all good movies. I'm not nitpicking because all good movies you can find the bloopers and the gags and all that stuff. And I mean, for the time, you couldn't tell. You can't really tell. I mean, today's day and age, if someone made a movie like that, you'd be like, oh, point, but that's because of leaks and internet knowledge and all that stuff. But back then, it was smooth. It was smooth. The only questionable part is the part that gets funny. I know horror fans. I've talked to a bunch of horror fans. It's the one part in this whole movie that everyone's kind of like, and that's Belial's rampage. It seems like everything was smooth and everything's great, and then when Belial goes on a rampage in your room, and just, I mean, it's stop motion, but you got this blob on the ground that's going across the ground, grabbing stuff, throwing it, going back over to the bed, if I remember correctly, grabs the bedpost, and he's like, slam, slam, slam. It's like just the rage of Belial.
well, Frank's story about this is he was doing it himself, and he liked the idea of the stop motion, but the way it functions is you do 2 or 3 frames, and then you move the thing just a little bit. Then you do 2 or 3 frames more and move just a little bit more. Well, after he walked back and forth between the camera and the prop 30 or 40 times, he's starting to lose interest in this, and he would just go over and kick it a little bit. And
it's like, I'm done.
so he says when he got the footage, he was very disappointed and threw it across the room and just left it. Didn't know what to do with it. But after a while, it occurred to him it was funny. And so then they worked on it some more to highlight that. And that's what you see in the film.
I mean, it breaks it up. I mean, you've got this somewhat serious feel of this whole movie. And then when that scene hits, you're just like, but then it goes right back into like murder and revenge. So it works. It works, and it helps make solidify this movie as what it is, and that's a cult classic. I
Thank
don't
you.
want to go into detail too much. I know last review we dug in deeper, but something happens at the end of this movie that leads into Basket Case 2. We see the return of brothers, both brothers. But as you can see here, guys, I'm not giving up too much. You see a whole slew of new people. So how's that go? How do we go from the two brothers in New York to this?
Well, so the device is at the end of the first film, you think they're gone. And the device for the second film is they wake up in a hospital. So they, in fact, survived the first film. And Dwayne is out of it. Belial is controlling Dwayne. Belial can take over Dwayne's body, and they manage to escape into the open arms of Granny Ruth, played by the legendary Annie Ross of Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross. It was just a gift from above to have her. She's fantastic.
It's like, what? Really?
And so Granny Ruth runs a home for unique individuals, and that's where Belial and Dwayne end up or land. And so begins a whole new adventure. As it turns out, there's a lady in Granny Ruth's house that is very much like Belial is, and of course they end up getting together, and there's progeny then, and that leads us to the third film.
Oh yeah. Yes, that leads us to this, guys. Basket Case 3, and as he said, the progeny. Yeah, that happens. This happens. Third movie, this happens. Which takes us on a wild ride, because if you know what happens in the first movie and then in the second movie, this is where I like to say the poop hits the fan. It's like, what? I know it was the 80s. I know people did drugs frequently in the 80s, but what led to this?
Oh, that's a frank question. Yeah.
This movie, there's a slew of Belials. Belial has babies, and it's just, I forget how many. Was there like?
There's an even dozen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and her name was Eve, wasn't it? The lady he got with.
Yes.
Her name was Eve.
Yeah, and Eve is structured very much like Belial is, so naturally they are interested in each other.
Just craziness.
At the end of the which is the sheriff's office scene. At the end of that scene, 11 of the babies survive. So never know. They would be in their mid-20s now. See?
Yeah, there's a slew of movies that are being remade, and I've always said I would love. There's 3 movies on my bucket list that I would love to see remade.
Yeah.
One of which is Night of the Demons. I don't know if you're familiar with that title from the 80s. It's a very cult classic one with that slewed a couple of sequels too. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. I've always said I would love to see a remake of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, just because of how I loved the funny. I loved it. It was stupid. Especially the fact that they died because of a theme song, like a song sung, just like whatever. It was great. And then Basket Case. Basket Case was always one that I was like, if they're going to remake something, like, what's in the basket? Like, what's in the basket, Dwayne? What's in the basket? What was in the basket, by the way? Did you just carry around an empty basket, or was there actual stuff in the basket to give you
Well, I would often weight the basket, depending on what the scene was. For example, though, the scene where I dump him on the floor outside of Needleman's office,
Hmm.
I couldn't weight it. So, you want to work uh, to make sure that it feels like there is weight because you carry and you dump an empty basket different than you would something that has 30 or 40 pounds in it. So
Hmm.
yeah, again, it's just mimicking behavior.
So at that point, it's just like I gotta pretend there's something heavy, but then there was times that you were like, okay, I'm gonna put something in here just to help the realism.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And there was also a movie in between. I think was it Basket Case 1 and 2 that Dwayne does a cameo. Dwayne and Belial.
Brain damage. Yeah.
Now
uh,
is it supposed to be in between 1 and 2, or is it during the events of one or before one? Like where's it supposed to play in?
Frank's original idea was to have both characters, sets of characters cross.
Okay.
So Elmer and his friend would have been in Basket Case 2 as well. However, SAG regulations at the time, anyways, required that once you start an actor, you have to pay them continuously. And that, so we could only do one side of the cross, but it was still a cool thing. We had an actual New York City subway car for 1 hour. We did 26 or 27 setups in an hour. Really just bam, bam, bam. We got enough footage to sell it. So
It's like,
it
okay,
worked.
we got 1 hour. Let's make use of this as much as possible.
Yep.
But that's awesome. It would have been like the first ever like today they do like a lot of crossovers and like what they call them universes, like
Yeah.
this universe that
Oh,
it would have
yeah.
been like the first horror universe type kind of crossover event if it would have went through. That would have been amazing. I mean,
It's all
sure,
about money.
I'm not counting like when Dracula meets Wolfman or stuff like that. I'm talking about like two different titles, like just crossing. That would have been something. But we got what we got, and I am happy for it. And as I was telling the people at home, and I've told you this before, but I want to share with them the story. I met you a couple of years ago when you did Sci-Fi Valley Con, about like 5, 6 something years
Yep.
ago.
Yep.
And I was like bright-eyed, open jawed, like when I got to meet you. And I shared with this story with you then, but it's like I said, it's been a while. When I was born, I had a twin connected to me. And it was not formed, it was just kind of there. It was my own version of Belial. Like it was like its own little thing.
Wow.
So the doctors were like, well, this is not living. This one is. We're just gonna and so every time I watched Basket Case, because I knew at a young age my story. My mom was open book, like, oh, you've had this many
Ah.
surgeries and you were this and this kind of kid. And so
How
I
old
knew.
were you when that happened?
Oh, I was born. Like it was like at birth they separated.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah, they didn't wait. I had to have a few other things done. Like when I was born, like I had to have corrective surgery for this and fix that. So they just took it off. I think it's like my mom kind of like donated it to science or something. Like they asked what do you want to do with it, and she's like, you can have it. I mean, you can have it.
You don't have it in a jar in your room, right?
Maybe.
Yeah. Do you have dreams about it?
No. I have no. The only thing I ever come close to is I sit there and wonder. I'm like, would we be identical if like if it survived? Would we have been identical? And what would life been if there was two of me running around?
Yeah.
I I I
Wow.
I I, I know a lot of people are sitting there going, "Thank you, thank you." One's enough. But and your career goes on and on. But nowadays, let's talk about nowadays, because now you have a new hobby. You do a little.
Well, actually, it's not new. I had switched my focus from acting to sculpture prior to Basket Case.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
bas yeah, Basket Case was too good to pass up, but I'm a figurative stone carver. Um, my website is www.kevinvanh.com. You can see some of my work. I also started a school called the Hunter Stone Carving Seminar. We have a free stone carving class. It's 2 weeks every summer. And the website for that is freehscs.com. Stands for Free Stone Hunter Stone Carving Seminar. So it's freehscs.com.
See, and
And that's what I do.
I knew that. I didn't know it was that long. Like you've been in it that long.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was thinking, I'm like, oh, he stopped acting and he went into. So no, you did this like. What really? You're like acting, schmacking. I want a stone carve.
Well, actually, whenever in the first film, whenever you see the sign for the Broslin Hotel,
Mm-hmm.
we hung that on the fire escape outside my bathroom in my studio in Tribeca, which was a sculpture studio. Tribeca was very different in 1978 than it is now. So
Yeah.
you got to, it's not today's Tribeca, but yeah, that was my sculpture studio.
So in the film, like when you see the sign, that's hanging off your studio.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's something I didn't even like. Out of all the stuff I looked at, I didn't even know that one. I was just like, I thought you guys found like a building and we're just gonna hang this here for now, but I didn't know it was your studio. That's
No, it's the Hotel Broslin is a composite of a lot of different locations. I think the exteriors of the manager's office were on Franklin Street. The staircase that we run up and down is somewhere else. In the rooms we built, in the studio in Uji's loft, as a matter of fact. Yeah, he let us. In the old days, you could get really cool industrial spaces cheap in Lower
yeah.
Manhattan. Those days are gone too.
Yeah,
But
I was gonna say there ain't nothing cheap in Manhattan now.
yeah, it was a cool time to be there.
I bet. Like, just I don't know. I could only imagine. Like, I see movies that are dated now, of course, but I watch like them walk down streets and stuff, and I go, man, I wish I was there. I wish I was that time frame. I mean, everybody says like for me, it's the 80s. I want to go back to the 80s. I would love to go to the 80s. But then people say, well, you do realize 80s had their problems too. It's like, yeah, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
the 80s. Like I'd be turning on the radio and every song would be like a jam.
Well, I'm glad we were able to get a little of Times Square from that era into the film because that's gone too now.
Yeah, Times Square is completely different. Like I've just watched movies not even maybe like 10 years older than Basket Case, and I see movies where they show like New York scene and I'm like, that's not the same. That's not the same.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah. What burger joint did you guys go to? What burger joint did you go get all those burgers from?
Well, we never filmed the actual place, so Edgar got hamburgers somewhere.
It's like all I know is you guys Belial went to town on burgers, and I was like, that's a lot of burgers. There's a joint somewhere that's like, oh, like especially in the 70s, they're like, man, we got just an order in for like 20 burgers. Well, we made our year. But yeah, that's great. And like you said, stone carving. You to promote this a little bit more because I'm interested. I'm very. How does one become a stone carver? Because like painting, drawing, which I like to dabble in drawing, but painting and drawing, you make a mistake, yeah, you either erase it or you just extra coat, just cover up the mistake. How does one become a sculptor? Because that would have to mean you got like the hands of like a doctor.
That's one of the most asked questions. In fact, what happens if you make a mistake? And in stone carving, there are no mistakes. There are executive design changes. But the way I got into it, when I was still in acting school at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, we went up to the Little Carnegie Cinema, which was around the corner from Carnegie Hall. And at that time, it was like an art house, playing old Ingmar Bergman films or Fellini stuff. And they were playing a Ken Russell film called The Savage Messiah, which is about a sculptor, Henri Gautier, who was a French carver who lived at the time of World War I. And in the course of that film, they showed a close-up of a real carver's hands working a block of marble. And I was so turned on to and by the idea of a rock as a plastic medium that was pretty much it for me. And then, so the Academy was on Madison Avenue between 30th and 31st. And on 30th, between Madison and Park, was a sculpture supply place called Sculpture House. So I started like walking back and forth and trying to look in the window, and then I would go in and look around. And when I had worked up my nerves sufficiently and saved up what I was hoping was enough money, I went in and tortured some poor sales girl with every question I could imagine about stone carving. And I bought a hammer and 3 basic chisels. And I went and found a rock in the East Village. And I set up a workbench under what's now called the High Line, elevated railroad at about 30th and 11th Avenue. Now, in 1975, 30th and 11th Avenue was deserted as soon as rush hour was done. And on the weekends, it was absolutely vacant except for the girls working 11th Avenue. So I was out of the weather, protected from the rain and so on. But when I first touched steel to stone, I had an epiphany, a moment of clarity, perhaps, that this was what I was meant to do. And that moment powers me still.
Wow. I mean, I wish I had to drive like that because, like I said, just the fact of chisel. What's that, sir? I'm sorry.
I feel very lucky to have discovered what I was meant to do early on.
Yeah.
But at the sculpture class, I've had 4-year-olds carving with an air hammer in half an hour. The technology, compressed air technology, is late 1800s. It's the actual material removal is really pretty simple and elementary. Primitive people did this with a sharp rock held in their hand 170,000 years ago. And we have much better tools. Now, what a 4-year-old will carve is simple compared to what an adult will carve, but they have fun and they can do it. We have lots of people every year who they say, "Oh, I'm not artistic," or "I can't do it," but it's like a different bicycle or a different pen or whatever you do. If you're a knitter, it's a different type of yarn or needles. Once you get the feel for the tools and the material, you go, and people become addicted to it fairly rapidly.
I'm gonna have to challenge you sometime. I'm gonna have to challenge you on that. I'm gonna have to come up while you're doing your classes, and I'm gonna have to come up there and challenge this theory.
hscs.com.
And we will have that down here for everybody to go visit.
Thank you, sir.
Go there. I mean, it doesn't hurt. You never know. You might have an artistic niche, and rock sculpting might be it. And who better to learn from than a horror icon, Kevin VanHentenryk? I mean, seriously. Not often do you get art lessons from a celebrity. Some people notice you? Like when they come to your class, some people like go, wait a minute?
A few. Mainly up here in the mountains, I'm known as the crazy sculptor guy. But every once in a while, someone recognizes me. Not as often as you'd think. This is a very rural area in the Catskill Mountains.
See, me personally, I would take the basket that you got carried Belial in, and that would be my sculpting stuff. I'd always carry my sculpting stuff around in a basket. Like, Dwayne, what's in the basket? Sculpting supplies. But yes, that's great, and I want to thank you for joining me again. The fans don't even know. Like I said, this is our third time. I said, there's no way I could get you on once. But here it is, our third try, and I finally have you on here. Everything's running smoothly on my side. My sidekick no-showed. I got to find out what and fire his ass. I'm going to just fire him. He's done. Like, you're done, John. But no.
Well, thank you for having me, and I appreciate your patience with the whole thing.
My patience? You're the guest. You're the one with the patience of a saint. Do you do commissions at all with your artwork?
Oh yeah. We do a lot of that sort of thing, and I'm looking forward to getting back into cons as well. Because of COVID, I haven't been doing any horror conventions, but starting next year, we're going to trying to line something up as a 40th anniversary, because next year is the 40th anniversary of the first film. I can't believe it myself.
Well, hey, you get some cons listed and you let me know, and I will gladly post them, because like certain ones around here I'll hit. Like I don't travel down like far distances for conventions.
And you're in Pennsylvania?
That's right. So yeah. I know there's there's Monster Mania Con that comes to like Jersey, New York area. There's Steel City Con.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of cons around me, so you let me know, and I will post to my viewers. I'll be like, hey, good guys, this is your chance. This is your chance. 40th anniversary of the movie Basket Case. And you can ask him yourself, what's in the basket? What's in the basket, Dwayne? But again, thank you so much. This was supposed to be a Halloween thing. It became a November 1st, 2nd thing. We're filming on November 2nd. This is now a November 5th thing, because that's when we air this. So people are starting to watch it on November 5th. And I thank you again, because this is like a birthday gift to me. My birthday is Saturday.
Happy birthday.
I'm turning 40. I'm almost as old as Basket Case. Another connection. Basket Case turning 40. Me turning 40. Basket Case about twins getting separated. Me, I was a twin. This was meant to be. I thank you so much for it.
Well, thanks for asking me.
But once again, guys, give it up for Mr. Kevin VanHentenryk. Check him out. He does wonderful work. I will post some of his stuff here. Do you have pictures of? You told me about this one that you did. This one sculpture you did.
Oh, the Rip Van Winkle.
Yeah, the Rip Van Winkle one.
On the website, kevinvanh.com. It's kind of a mini retrospective of a lot of different things I've done. One of them is a life-size Rip Van Winkle in bluestone, which is at the summit of Hunter Mountain.
Is he sleeping?
Well, we've actually cheated with the sculpture. We've shown two different moments from the story in one carving. The carving is one about the moment he wakes up, and two about the moment he realizes his predicament. We've combined them. In the story, they're not combined. But also, you're talking about a stone that may last hundreds, perhaps thousands of years. There's no guarantee that people will know the story of Rip Van Winkle in even 200 years.
I don't think half the kids today know it at all. So it's all good. It's one of those like stories that if it don't get passed down, it ain't going anywhere.
So the piece has to work independently of any sort of support material.
Now I know Sleepy Hollow was a New York thing. You need to go there and carve a headless horseman. That's a goal. But again, I digress. Thank you for coming on. Thank you so much, guys. If you want to support him, go check out his websites. Check him out at a free class starting next year, because it's done for the year now. But next year, go get a free class. Can't hurt.
Summer. Yep. Keep an eye on the website. Once we know when the class will be next summer, it'll be on the free hscs.com. And thank you everyone so much.
Yes. And if you guys liked what you see and you want to see more, don't forget to hit the like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned, because you never know what's coming next. Until next time, thank you, Mr. Kevin VanHentenryk. Thank you, guys. Peace.